Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. PSAJ calls for short-term crime strategy. More calls for Marcia Smith to resign as Member of Parliament for North East St. Anne. And later in sports, Sunshine Girls forced to call upon reinforcement in New Zealand. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. The private sector organization of Jamaica is again calling for effective short-term strategies to arrest the country's growing crime wave. Codian Barrett reports.
It's too much to bear. That's the position of the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSAJ, regarding the crime rate across the island. It's why they are calling for the Andrew Holness-led government to implement some short-term measures to deal with the rampant acts of violence residents are facing. In a press release this morning, the PSAJ said the crime rate is becoming a burden, taking a serious psychological and physical toll on all citizens. According to the PSAJ, Jamaicans have been living in constant fear from the overt and senseless violence, which often claims lives and destroy families. The release comes after 9 people were shot, 3 fatally, in Spring Village, St. Catherine, Sunday afternoon. The victims were among scores of spectators at a football match in the community. To date, there have been over 1,100 murders since the start of the year. That represents an almost 10% increase in homicides over last year.
We're therefore calling on the government and our leaders of the JCF and the JDF to engage our people and put forward and execute sound and effective short-term violence strategies within our legal construct to mount a credible and sustained effort to neutralize these gangs, to reduce the wanton and horrific loss of lives. This would go a long way in restoring confidence and providing some comfort and hope in us all.
In the latest RJ Glena Don Anderson poll, over 90% of Jamaicans said they had little or no confidence in the police. Codian Barrett, TVJ News.
The murder rate in St. Mary continues to climb, with a shooting death taking the figure to 28 since January this year. The shooting happened in Stockholm Highgate. It's reported that around 7:30 p.m., 45-year-old Lincoln Vincent of Hibiscus Avenue in the parish was in the community eating a box food at this location when he was approached and shot. A blood trail shows where Mr. Vincent attempted to escape. Now, he ran through a track leading to another main road in the town where he collapsed. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. A Jamaican is among 4 persons arrested in connection with what has been described as the biggest cocaine bust in Nigeria's history. According to media reports in Nigeria, 42-year-old Kelvin Smith, who is from Kingston, was held during a 2-day operation. The other 3 individuals are from Nigeria and are said to be members of a drug cartel. The cocaine was found in 10 traveling bags and 13 drums. Details from Prince Moore.
Nigeria's Anti-Narcotics Department, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency NDLEA, yesterday announced the $278 million drug bust at a large warehouse in an estate in the Ikorodu area of Lagos. NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi said agents found about 1.8 tons of the illicit drug. Mr. Babafemi said the Jamaican and the warehouse manager were arrested in an intelligence-led operation that lasted 2 days across different locations in Lagos. Mr. Babafemi disclosed that the 4 persons arrested are members of an international drug syndicate that the NDLEA has been trailing since 2018. They were nabbed at hotels and their hideouts in different parts of Lagos between Sunday night and yesterday. Mr. Babafemi reported that the cartel was trying to sell the cocaine to buyers in Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world.
Yet another protest at the offices of the Member of Parliament for North East St. Anne, Marcia Smith. Supporters of JLP are calling for her to resign the post or be fired by the party leadership. This is a second protest in recent months calling for her to leave the constituency. The JLP supporters say Ms. Smith has not been responsible in the duties of the constituency, hence their call. JLP supporters have also heightened their action after an office worker was relieved of her duties last week. These supporters told us that she has been working at the office for over 4 decades.
And Mr. Wallace, make sure say you come down here today because we want you down here. And down here we want you. You can't Marsha come push for we and when you're done, you come dumping for we and you not do nothing for we down here. She not even come to office. We can't see Marsha. Where is Marsha Smith? We don't want Marsha no more. Andrew Arrestan can't come dashing for we.
Desperate to see the People's National Party PNP return to power, that's the sentiment among supporters at the party's recent annual conference held at the National Arena. Sandy Williams has the details.
The People's National Party, PNP, has been in opposition since 2016 when it was defeated by the Jamaica Labour Party in the general elections. The JLP took 32 seats in the 63-member House of Representatives, while the PNP capped 31 seats. In 2020, Jamaicans went back to the polls for the general election, which saw the PNP remaining as opposition, following a landslide victory by the JLP. The JLP won 49 seats, while the PNP secured 14 seats. Having been in opposition for 2 consecutive terms, PNP supporters say they are now desperate for the party to return to power. They believe PNP President Mark Golding is the man for the job.
His hands are clean. His credibility are clean. His performance are clean. His track record are clean. You never hear Mark Golding name calling one corruption in the history of politics in Jamaica. Give him a chance. Come out and give him his support. And you will see the result in the general election.
We don't believe over people. We believe by the Almighty. So whatever the Almighty do and say, it stand. And Mark Golding going to be the next Prime Minister for the people of Jamaica.
They insist that despite previous divisions, Mr. Golding now has the full support of all members of the party.
I like the unity behind the party leader right now. I like to see 2 of our former leaders, right? And I like to see no friction. I don't hear no whispering. It's just one mission, as Dr. Peter Phillips said. Time come, every hand on deck.
Because we need to take back Jamaica. We need to take back Jamaica. We can't manage. We can't live underneath this JLP government no more.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
And among some of the supporters at the People's National Party's conference was former Jamaica Labour Party Senator Dennis Meadows. Mr. Meadows parted ways with the JLP in March this year and described his 8-year membership as toxic. Having joined the PNP, he says things are different.
In the short time I've been with the PNP, there's a community of welcome and environment, an atmosphere of respect and support. That was missing elsewhere. And therefore I believe that going forward, this is the right vehicle for Jamaica to realize its true potential as a country with the right leadership. And I believe that I find that in Mark Golding.
He revealed that he has been receiving staunch criticism since his exit. However, Mr. Meadows says he's sticking with the PNP.
She has just received backlash, who am I, compared. But in the main, it has been one of resounding welcome, resounding respect.
And for the latest in the economy, here's Codian Barrett with the Business Minute.
The Business Minute, brought to you by...
In need of a loan? AIM Financial is the place to go. We have loans from $20,000 to $3.3 million.
In local business, Separate Group's chairman, Paul Scott, says Jamaica should consider the implementation of a migration policy to attract skilled talent to the local workforce. He said while training and upskilling the local workforce are critical to talent building, skilled employees coming into the country could help alleviate some of the labor shortages.
You can invest in training, etc. But the reality is we're looking at all right now of low unemployment rate as it stands, or we can look to have a migration policy to Jamaica and an immigration policy and bring talent to the country.
And in the global economy, a first-of-its-kind database for tracking the world's fossil fuel production reserves and emissions was launched on Monday. This coincides with climate talks taking place at the United Nations General Assembly in the United States. The Global Registry of Fossil Fuels includes data from over 50,000 oil, gas, and coal fields in 89 countries. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
The Business Minute, brought to you by...
In need of a loan? AIM Financial is the place to go. We have loans from $20,000 to $3.3 million.
And it's now time for regional and international stories. Here's Sandra Williams.
In regional news, in Belize, the leader of the main opposition United Democratic Party, UDP, Shine Barrow, is urging a move away from the British monarchy, describing its effects as a nightmare rather than a fairy tale for countries that were once colonized by England. The issue of severing ties with Britain came to the fore following the death of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II, who was buried on Monday. Mr. Barrow is also resolute in his position regarding reparation for countries, especially those in the Commonwealth that were once colonies of England. On the international scene, Uganda has declared an outbreak of Ebola after a case of the relatively rare Sudan strain was confirmed in the country. The WHO's Africa office in a statement said that the case was confirmed after testing a sample from a 24-year-old man in the country's Muben district. Ugandan health authorities investigated 6 suspicious deaths in the district this month. According to WHO Africa, there are currently 8 suspected cases and they are receiving care in a health facility. The WHO Regional Director for Africa says this is the first time in more than a decade that Uganda is recording the Ebola Sudan strain. Uganda last reported an outbreak of Ebola Sudan in 2012. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
That's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.